There is a certain kind of person you don't notice at first. They don't demand attention. They don't try to impress. They don't chase, convince, or explain themselves. In a world obsessed with pursuing love, validation, success, approval, they stand still. Not out of fear, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. These are the people who no longer chase anyone. And psychologically, this isn't indifference. It's evolution. It's what happens when someone has learned, often the hard way, that running after people costs more than it gives. When you stop chasing, it's not because you don't care. It's because you finally learned how to care about yourself. People who don't chase anyone anymore weren't always this way. Most of them used to chase deeply. They chased connection. They chased affection. They chased reassurance. They chased being chosen. And for a long time, they believed that if they just tried harder, loved louder, gave more, stayed longer, things would work out. But psychology shows us that repeated emotional imbalance rewires the brain. When effort is not met with reciprocity, the nervous system learns a painful lesson. Chasing equals loss. So slowly, subtly, something shifts. They don't become cold. They become selective. They don't shut down emotionally. They redirect their energy inward. This is not emotional avoidance. This is emotional intelligence forming under pressure. At the core of this shift is a concept psychologists call self-differentiation. It's the ability to stay emotionally connected to others without losing your sense of self. People who chase tend to fuse their worth with someone else's response. If they're wanted, they feel valuable. If they're ignored, they feel diminished. But those who stop chasing have gone through the painful process of separating identity from attachment. They realize something profound. Wanting someone does not obligate them to want you back. And trying to force that bond only fractures your self-respect. So they stop. Not dramatically, not with announcements or ultimatums. They simply withdraw the chase and observe what remains. And often, what remains is silence. That silence hurts at first, but it also reveals truth. Because when you stop chasing, you see clearly who was walking beside you and who was only moving because you were pulling them along. Psychologically, people who stop chasing develop a stronger internal locus of control. Instead of measuring their worth by external reactions, they ground it internally. This makes them calmer, slower to react, and harder to manipulate. They don't rush to respond to messages. They don't panic when attention fades. They don't over-explain their intentions. Not because they're playing games, but because urgency no longer controls them. Urgency is often a sign of fear, fear of abandonment, fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough. When that fear dissolves, chasing becomes unnecessary. They understand that what's meant for them will move toward them naturally. And what doesn't move toward them was never theirs to begin with. There's also a deep emotional fatigue behind this psychology. People who stop chasing are usually tired, not physically but emotionally. Tired of initiating every conversation. Tired of being the one who checks in. Tired of adjusting themselves to be more palatable. Tired of giving clarity to people who live in confusion. Over time, this exhaustion teaches boundaries. And boundaries change behavior. When you no longer chase, you conserve emotional energy. That energy gets reinvested into self-respect, growth, solitude, and discernment. You begin to value peace over intensity, stability over chaos, mutual effort over potential. And this shift is invisible to most people, but powerful to those who experience it. From the outside, people who don't chase can appear detached or uninterested, but internally they feel deeply. The difference is that they no longer allow their feelings to override their judgment. They've learned that emotional impulses don't always point toward truth. Psychology calls this emotional regulation, the ability to feel without being ruled by feeling. People who chase often confuse intensity with intimacy. Those who stop chasing learn that consistency matters more than chemistry. They no longer romanticize unpredictability. They don't chase highs and lows. They choose steadiness. And this makes them quieter, calmer, and sometimes misunderstood. But that calmness is not emptiness. It's containment. It's the result of a mind that has learned restraint. One of the most defining traits of people who stop chasing is their relationship with silence. Silence no longer scares them. They don't rush to fill gaps. They don't fear pauses. They understand that silence reveals more than words ever could. In psychology, silence is often associated with secure attachment. Securely attached individuals don't need constant reassurance. They trust continuity. They don't interpret space as rejection. So when communication slows, they don't panic. They observe, and observation gives them information. It shows them who is consistent, who is curious, and who only engages when entertained. This ability to sit with silence is one of their quiet strengths. It protects them from chasing people who are emotionally unavailable. People who don't chase anyone anymore also develop a strong sense of emotional boundaries. They don't overshare early. They don't invest before alignment. They don't confuse access with intimacy. Psychologically, this is a response to past emotional injury. When vulnerability was met with indifference, the psyche learned caution. But this caution isn't bitterness. It's wisdom. They still open up, but slowly, intentionally, and reciprocally. They no longer pour into empty spaces. They wait to see who pours back. And if that mutual exchange doesn't happen, they don't chase it. They let it go. Another important psychological layer is self-validation. People who stop chasing no longer rely on others to confirm their worth. This doesn't mean they don't enjoy appreciation. It means they don't depend on it. They don't shrink when ignored or inflate when praised. Their sense of self remains relatively stable. This stability is rare, and it often intimidates others. Because someone who doesn't chase can't be controlled through withdrawal. You can't threaten them with distance. You can't bait them with attention. They move from a place of choice, not compulsion. And that changes every dynamic they enter. There's also grief in this transformation. People who stop chasing grieve their former selves, the hopeful version, the endlessly patient version, the one who believed love could be earned through effort. Letting go of chasing means letting go of certain illusions. It means accepting that not everyone will meet you halfway, that some connections are one-sided, that effort doesn't guarantee outcome. This realization hurts, but it also liberates. Because once you accept reality, you stop negotiating with it. You stop bargaining for attention. You stop proving your worth. And instead, you stand in it. Psychologically, this stage often coincides with increased self-trust. People who don't chase trust their perceptions. If something feels off, they don't rationalize it away. They don't chase clarity from confused people. They step back. They trust patterns more than promises. And this makes them emotionally efficient. They don't waste time decoding mixed signals. Mixed signals are a signal. And when someone doesn't show up consistently, they don't chase an explanation. They accept the information and move accordingly. This doesn't mean they don't value connection. In fact, they value it more. But they value depth, not quantity. They're not interested in being everywhere or known by everyone. They're interested in being understood by a few. Their relationships become fewer but deeper. Their standards become higher but quieter. They don't announce boundaries. They live them, and people either adjust or disappear. And they let that happen without resistance. One of the most misunderstood aspects of people who stop chasing is that they're not emotionally numb. They feel longing. They feel desire. They feel attachment. The difference is that they don't let those feelings dictate behavior. Psychology distinguishes between feeling and acting. Maturity is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to choose your actions regardless of emotion. People who stop chasing feel the urge, but they don't obey it blindly. They sit with it, they process it, and often it passes. That's power. This also affects how they love. They don't rush into intensity. They don't flood others with attention. They let things unfold naturally. They observe how someone treats consistency, conflict, and calm. They're more interested in how someone behaves when nothing exciting is happening. Because chasing often happens in chaos. Stopping the chase happens in clarity. They don't pursue potential. They respond to effort. And this makes their love quieter but stronger. Less dramatic but more real. There's a deep sense of self-respect at the core of this psychology. Self-respect changes everything. When you respect yourself, you don't beg. You don't overextend. You don't abandon yourself to keep someone else. People who stop chasing understand that self-abandonment is not love. It's fear. And they've felt that fear before. They've lived in it, and they chose to leave it behind. Socially, this can make them appear distant. They don't engage in unnecessary drama. They don't seek constant validation. They don't participate in emotional chaos. And because of that, some people lose interest. Others feel challenged. Some try harder. But the person who doesn't chase remains grounded. They don't react to provocation. They don't compete for attention. They know that what flows naturally doesn't need to be forced. Psychology also links this behavior to increased self-efficacy, the belief that you can handle outcomes regardless of how they unfold. People who chase often fear loss because they believe they won't survive it. People who stop chasing know they will. They've already survived disappointment, rejection, and emotional withdrawal, and they realized they didn't break. That realization changes everything. Once you know you'll be okay, even if someone leaves, you stop chasing them to stay. Another subtle shift is how they experience loneliness. They may be alone, but they're not desperate. Solitude becomes restorative instead of threatening. They use time alone to reflect, recalibrate, and reconnect with themselves. And this solitude makes them stronger partners, not weaker ones. Because they're not entering relationships to fill a void. They're entering from wholeness. And wholeness doesn't chase. It attracts. People who don't chase also develop patience. They don't rush timelines. They don't force labels. They let things reveal themselves. This patience isn't passivity. It's discernment. They're watching alignment. They're observing consistency. They're paying attention to effort over words. And if alignment doesn't happen, they don't chase it. They walk away quietly, without bitterness. Because walking away is not punishment. It's protection. Emotionally, this creates peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from having everything, but the kind that comes from not needing everything. They don't need to be chosen by everyone. They don't need constant affirmation. They don't need to prove their value. They already know it. And that knowing is unshakable. It doesn't depend on outcomes. It doesn't fluctuate with attention. It simply exists. In relationships, this makes them powerful without trying. People sense their groundedness. Some are drawn to it. Others are unsettled by it. Because someone who doesn't chase reflects your own attachment patterns back to you. If you're used to being chased, their stillness feels unfamiliar. If you're used to being avoidant, their lack of pursuit removes your leverage. And that exposure makes people uncomfortable. But the person who doesn't chase doesn't adjust themselves to soothe others' discomfort. They stay centered. Ultimately, the psychology of people who don't chase anyone anymore is the psychology of self-return. It's what happens when attention turns inward instead of outward. When energy is preserved instead of spent. When love is offered freely but not desperately. They understand that connection is mutual or it's not connection at all. And they no longer participate in dynamics where they have to shrink, chase, or perform to be chosen. They still believe in love. They still value intimacy. They still open their hearts. But they do it from a place of steadiness, not urgency. And that changes everything. Because when you stop chasing, you stop running from yourself. And when you stop running from yourself, you become someone who doesn't need to be chased, because your presence already carries weight. And that is the quiet power of people who don't chase anyone anymore.